Hello everyone and welcome to a brand new video. I didn't have power much of this week because of the hurricane, so we gotta resort to good old reliable Mr. Tier List. The trailer for Captain America Brave New World just dropped, and I was gonna do a tier list anyway, so might as well stick with the Marvel theme. So I'm gonna be doing a tier list of all the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. There are only 3 that I have not seen. The first 2 Captain America movies, and Shang-Chi Legends of the Ten Rings, or whatever the heck. But we have peak cinema, the best of the best, top tier Marvel movies. We got great, good, okay, meh, and what was that? So we're going to start off with the Ant-Man trilogy. Now the first Ant-Man movie, very solid. Paul Rudd, I'm a big Paul Rudd fan, so anything that he's in, I'm probably going to enjoy. And Ant-Man, I feel like he's an underrated Marvel hero. He's one of my favorites. And the first Ant-Man, it is solid. It is just solid all throughout. Off the top of my head, I can't really think of anything I dislike about the movie. Would I say it's peak cinema? No. Would I say it's good? Definitely. But I'm going to put it in great because I love Paul Rudd. And the Ant-Man movies are a lot of fun, as you'll come to see. Ant-Man and the Wasp, on the other hand, not as good, but still very, very solid. I think this one's a bit more fun. I think there's a bit more comedy thrown in there with Luis and his crew doing the whole, home security business they have started up. The shrinking of things, their big office building being shrunk down, turned into a suitcase. A lot of fun stuff. Lawrence Fishburne is in this. The main antagonist for Ant-Man and the Wasp, not the strongest, like I said, Lawrence Fishburne. Heck yeah, but the girl that is kind of fizzling out, invisible, the not invisible, I think Ghost is her name, I don't know. Not very strong, but I still think Ant-Man and the Wasp is a very solid sequel. I think it tries to have a bit more fun over the first Ant-Man, which I think is fine. So I'm going to put it in good. Ant-Man Quantumania. Now, people tore this movie to shreds. It is probably the worst reviewed, possibly, Marvel movie, I think? I'm not sure. But it is not that bad. I watched it, and again, like I said, if Paul Rudd's in it, I'm probably gonna enjoy it. I thought Quantumania was not bad whatsoever. My expectations weren't very high going in because of all the hate it was getting, but this is a solid movie. There's some controversy with the main bad guy, Kang, because one, in the movie, he is built up as this massive threat, but gets taken out fairly easily. Plus the actor himself, a lot of controversy and whatnot. So this movie kind of teeters between good and bad in a sense where I think it's a lot of fun, but also it does an alright job of setting up the next phase of the MCU, but because of the things behind the movie, it's it's a bit of a rough start, but I still liked Quantumania. Catherine Newton, big fan of her as well. I'm gonna put it in okay. Not as good as Ant-Man and the Wasp, not as great as the first Ant-Man, but it is still okay. Moving on to the Avengers movies themselves. The first Avengers, I have not seen this, I believe, since I saw it in theaters when it first came out, because I have not seen it in full in 10, 15 years or whatever. My opinions on it aren't too strong. It is a I guess blockbuster type movie, the first time all these heroes are coming together on the big screen. It's probably better than Ant-Man and Wasp, I'm gonna be real, but for me personally, since I haven't seen it in a long time, gonna put it under Ant-Man and Wasp. That might be crazy, but if I do rewatch it, I'm almost guaranteeing it'll probably go in great, but for now, keeping it in good. You can't go wrong with the first Avengers movie. Now, a similar thing to Quantumania, although not as hardcore, Avengers Age of Ultron is looked at as probably the weakest in the 4 Avengers movies, and while I would say probably, yeah, I like Age of Ultron. Quicksilver and Wanda, they're introduced. I think Ultron is a very, very solid villain. Towards the end of the movie, we really get to see the Avengers, helping out civilians, like Hawkeye, I believe, goes in and saves this kid in a building that's crumbling down or something like that. Again, it's another Avengers movie that I haven't seen in full in a long time. I think I'm going to put it right behind the first Avengers because I don't think it's as good, but I still do not get why it is hated on so much. I think it is a decent Avengers movie. Now we have a big boy right here. We have Avengers Infinity War. This is my favorite Avengers movie. This is peak cinema. I would say Infinity War is a top 3, top 5 movie for me. Just in general. This thing is amazing. I saw it in theaters. Beautiful. Every time it comes on TV, unlike Avengers and Age of Ultron, I watch this thing. If it's on, I am seated and I am rewatching Avengers Infinity War. I have seen this thing probably 10 times or so. Who knows at this point. This was the first time seeing Thanos in full. You see clips of him from other Avengers movies and other Marvel movies or whatever. But now he's finally here on the big screen being alright, I'm your main bad guy now. Hello everyone. Thanos is probably one of my favorite villains in movies, period. He kicks so much ass. Josh Brolin has the perfect voice for him, and so many quotes. The Infinity Gauntlet is such a cool, just prop, and I love everything about Thanos. He is such a big bad son of a bitch. The first Avengers movie, you know, the core Avengers all coming together, that's really cool, but this has like everybody coming together. This was probably my first experience watching a movie where like the bad guy just straight up wins, or so it seems. Well, I guess he does pretty much win because they have to do a bunch of time travel stuff. He snaps, boom, he just wins. It's like, oh well, Earth's mightiest heroes, no, you failed. And it is just such a, wow, I can't believe they did that, but hey, cool. I honestly don't think this will ever drop out of my top 5. I love Infinity War so much. Also, all the fight scenes in this movie are fantastic. The first scene where Captain America appears by like the subway station or whatever, the audience claps. I saw it in theaters twice. They clapped every single time, and I guarantee you, some of those people were watching it for the second or third time. They still got up and clapped because even though I'm not the biggest Captain America fan, I mean, I haven't seen most of his movies, still, you gotta appreciate how just cool it is. Now we're moving on to Endgame. I do not think Endgame is as strong. It's still growing on me, to be fair. Just like Infinity War, I try to watch it when it comes on TV. If Infinity War is like a top 5 for me, Endgame is like a top 25. Endgame caps off the story nicely. It really does bum me out because Iron Man is my favorite Avenger. Even though it's like, hell yeah, noble sacrifice and stuff, I am Iron Man. That's like top 5 movie moment ever, honestly. It also kind of sucks because that's my boy, and he had to die. The whole time travel thing, a lot of fun. Endgame starts off pretty sad too. I believe we start with like Nebula and Tony Stark on that spaceship, and it's just like, Tony ain't looking too good. But then there's hope last second because I believe Captain Marvel shows up. There's just a lot of emotion in this one. I think probably a bit more emotion than Infinity War, but I just think Infinity War is a bit better. Endgame is still an amazing Marvel movie though. Now we have Black Panther. I just watched this fairly recently this year, I believe. I was not disappointed. Killmonger, he kicks so much ass. Since this is a Marvel movie I've watched somewhat recently, it's still kind of growing on me. I think it is very, very good. But, you know, I've only sat with it for a few months, so for now I think I'll put it under the first 2 Avengers movies, but over time, I can honestly see it maybe going like top of good, very bottom of great. I do really enjoy Black Panther, but just like the feeling wasn't there for me. I think everybody does a great job in this, they all kick so much ass. The fight scenes, again, just like Infinity War, cool stuff all around, so give it a few months, it'll probably move up a couple spots. Now on the other hand, we have Wakanda Forever, the second Black Panther movie, sort of, you know, honoring Chadwick Boseman. Rest in peace, that's just incredibly unfortunate. Wakanda Forever has a very great start and a very great end. The start of this movie is very beautiful, again honoring T'Challa, the Black Panther. It's just everything in the middle is just kind of meh for me. The main villain, the fish dude, he's cool, but they spend a lot of time on his backstory towards like the middle of the movie, and I get you need that, duh. I'm not saying how dare you give me more info about this character. I just couldn't get into it. I don't know what it was. If the middle of the movie had a bit more oomph to it, I think I would have liked this way more. This is going in meh. It is one of the weaker Marvel movies I've seen in a while, and y'all might hate me because of some of the other placements on this tier list, but when I was watching it, it felt like it was dragging a bit. Like I said, that middle portion wasn't a big fan of, but the beginning and ending of this movie are pretty much perfect. I want to put it in okay, but Quantumania was at least fun and a bit silly. This was serious, but it kind of dragged. Just didn't really do it for me. Now we have Black Widow, another Marvel movie I got to a little bit late. It came out, I want to say like 2021. I just watched it this year. I thought it was going to be basic as hell. Not too much importance because we know what happens to the Black Widow in Endgame, so it's like, this is a prequel in a sense. I believe this takes place after Captain America Civil War, or like right around that time period. This was a lot of fun. It is still on the basic side because it's just like Black Widow doing a cool spy mission. I don't know if I could put it above Black Panther. I think I had more fun with it, but Black Panther, just like the style of it, the way it looks. Ooh, honestly, I think I could put Black Panther just a bit above Age of Ultron. Black Widow, I think, is gonna stay in good. Hell, honestly, above Age of Ultron as well. I had a lot of fun with Black Widow. Florence Pugh does a great job in this. David Harbour as well. I like him a lot. She has such a tragic backstory, but it all comes together in a great way, and the end is a lot of fun. I'm gonna leave Black Widow in good, just a touch above Age of Ultron. Captain America Civil War. I watched this when it came on TV. It took me a while to get around to this one. The whole airport fight scene is my main takeaway from this movie. So cool. Team Captain America versus Team Iron Man. You kind of see Captain America's side in things, but you also see Tony Stark's side in things. So it's like a really even, like, okay, I don't really want to root against you, but Tony Stark's my boy. Iron Man's my boy. So sorry, Captain. I hope he kicks your ass, which, you know, who's to say who won that fight? It doesn't stick in my head as much as some of these other movies, though, but that just last 35 minutes, 40 minutes are so damn fun. I just can't help but put it above Black Panther, I think above Avengers, and honestly, just a smidge above Ant-Man and the Wasp. It's teetering on great, but I've only seen it once, so I think I need to rewatch it just because I remember how good it was, and, you know, it'll probably go up in the rankings. Now we're moving on to Captain Marvel's 2 movies. We have the first Captain Marvel. I watched this late last year in a hotel room. It is a very good eating pizza in a hotel room movie. Yeah, it's fine. It's really, it feels basic. It's a good movie. It's a good, hey, here's a very important key member of the MCU. Didn't really stick with me. It's fine. I think I'm gonna put Captain Marvel in okay, just a touch under Quantumania. I think Brie Larson does a great job. She got a decent amount of hate, and probably still does. I don't get why. She's fine in this movie, and just in everything in the MCU, she's done a great job. I don't understand why people were upset. Like, I watched it and had like no complaints other than it felt a bit basic. It's a flat out okay Marvel movie. Now we have The Marvels, another Marvel movie that people are a bit divisive on. I think more people have come around to it. I think this is currently like the latest Marvel movie to come out in theaters. I actually got to see it in movie theaters, which glad I did. The Marvels is a bunch of fun. I've seen it like twice since seeing it in theaters. I don't really think people gave this a fair chance because of how kind of middle of the road Captain Marvel was, plus all the negative reviews they were probably hearing. Go watch The Marvels. I would say it's not as action-packed as some of the earlier Marvel movies. There are a lot of cool fight scenes in The Marvels. I do think it's a lot of fun. The montage of them trying to like sync up with their powers and stuff, because each time one of them uses their powers, they swap places. This is honestly the poster child for like fun Marvel movies. If you want something that's not too story heavy, but still very fun to look at and watch, this is your movie. Also, Miss Marvel, she steals the show in this. She is so much fun, and the whole Goose the Cat ending, one of the best things I've ever seen in a Marvel movie. This is going, like, top of good. I think I'm moving Civil War up to great. The Marvels is gonna sit top of good, but after one more rewatch, I'm telling you, this thing is gonna go in great. I love the Marvels so much. It was so much fun, and that's what I want out of my superhero blockbuster-esque movies. I want fun, some action, characters I can root for. The Marvels has all of that. So if you don't like the Marvels, what the heck? And if you haven't seen it, what the heck? Go watch it. Now we have Doctor Strange. This year I finally got around to watching the 2 Doctor Strange movies. They're solid. Both of them are solid. One is slightly better than the other. The first Doctor Strange, it's gonna go in okay. I don't think I could put it above Quantumania, because it's a lot of fun, but I could put it above Captain Marvel. I think Benedict Cumberbatch is a very solid like lead to follow. His origin story is pretty solid. Rachel McAdams is in it. Love her. Didn't even realize she was in the MCU. But hell yeah. I really don't have any notes on Doctor Strange. It's kind of like a Captain Marvel situation where it is sort of basic, but it gets the job done. But moving on to his other movie, Multiverse of Madness. I love Sam Raimi, love the Evil Dead movies. Has a lot of cool moments in this. I'm sure he didn't like get to fully direct. I'm sure some studio changes were made. But the little fun, creepy-ish moments we get in this, really cool. A lot of dark, cool effects. The third eye looks a bit goofy, but the fights are fun. This is like the perfect example of like the bones and sort of the style of a really cool movie, but there is just something that gets in the way of it being like really good. So it ends up just being like, that was fine. I don't think it's as good as the first Doctor Strange. Slightly more fun than Captain Marvel, so I'm gonna give it the edge. Honestly, Captain Marvel has to go in meh. I think it got a bit too much hate. I kind of want to rewatch it because I've seen some clips float around on Twitter, and I'm like, oh, these are all cool. So why didn't I like the movie all that much? So it's another Marvel movie I need to go and rewatch, probably. But for now, it's going to stay in okay. I think the first Doctor Strange has a more solid story, so that's why it's going to stay above Multiverse of Madness. A part of me also wants to put it in meh, and I think I'm gonna put it in meh, honestly. Just something about it doesn't do the trick for me, but there's something there that I also really do like. Next up is The Eternals. I honestly heard pretty much nothing but bad things about this movie, and I was doing my Marvel catch-up binge watch, and when I got to The Eternals, I was like, okay, a bit nervous. Let's just see how this goes. This movie is beautiful. The Eternals is just straight up beautiful. The scenery, the cinematography, this movie is very gorgeous. Even the end, the giant like hand or like helmet or whatever it is sticking out of the ground, the Titan, absolutely loved it. They freaking cooked with the Eternals. I heard that they kind of scrapped the plans for a second one, which really breaks my heart because I loved all the characters. They're all new, but they get enough screen time to where I get the gist of everybody in this. I like them all. There's not a single thing about this movie I would say I dislike other than maybe at times it can feel a bit bland. It's a very, very good Marvel movie. I don't get why people didn't like it. Borderline great. This is gonna go in good for sure. Now, because I have not seen the first Avengers movie in quite some time in full, I'm gonna put the Eternals over it. I think Avengers is probably the better movie. You know, the Eternals blew my expectations out of the water. I absolutely loved it, and I'm absolutely devastated that there might not be a sequel. I am begging them to reconsider because I will be there opening day. I love the Eternals so much. I need another one, please. Here we go, Guardians of the Galaxy. That trilogy is fantastic. The first one, I actually just rewatched this a couple days ago. Very, very solid. Just straight good times with the first Guardians of the Galaxy. Honestly, I could probably put it above, a touch under Ant-Man. I still really do like Ant-Man a lot. The whole gang, love them all to death so much, and they only get more fun as the trilogy goes on. Probably the most consistent like group of movies in the MCU, I would say. The first one just feels like a classic, even though it's only been out like 10 years. James Gunn just knows how to make a damn good superhero movie. The Suicide Squad that came out in like 2021, I want to say. One of my favorite movies of all time. Guardians is up there as well. Moving on to Guardians Volume 2. I don't like it as much as the first one, but I still think it is very, very good. I could even put it bottom of great, and I think I will. I don't think any of the Guardians movies are below good, although maybe there's a case to be made for top of good. I think it deserves to be in the great tier. Yondu has a stronger presence in this movie. Really like Yondu. We get filled in on more of Quill's backstory, and it is tragic, and the final end scene has produced like a meme on Twitter I see all the time, where Chris Pratt is just like it zooms on his face, and he's like, what?
What?
No, all right. I know that sounds bad.
Boom, just shot right in the face. So thank you people on Twitter for making that just an all-time favorite little clip of mine to see on my timeline. Every Guardians movie has a great soundtrack as well. You cannot go wrong with the Guardians movies, and it's gonna keep on going. We got Guardians Volume 3. I think not peak cinema, but it is damn near close. I think it is just a touch under Endgame. Honestly, Endgame and Volume 3 could move up to the peak cinema tier. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 ties up the trilogy so nicely. I don't have any major complaints. I honestly can't even think of any like little complaints. The only complaint I have is that Volume 2 isn't as good as 1, and 1 isn't as good as 3. But they're all so damn close, the complaint doesn't even really exist. All the Guardians have their own story in Volume 3. Mantis telling Drax to like shut the hell up, and Nebula as well. Obviously Rocket Raccoon's upbringing and his friends, and it's heartbreaking but also beautiful towards the end as well. Quill and Gamora, you know, he's trying to win her back, but it's just like, oh, I don't think this is gonna work out. Everybody just has their own story, and it's so great. The movie's very colorful, too. I love me a good, colorful Marvel movie. And if I can be real for a second here, this is probably the Marvel movie that has got me close to tears. I don't think I've ever, like, cried during any of these movies, but Volume 3, you know, I got pretty close. Next up, we have Hulk. This was, like, the second MCU movie after Iron Man or something like that. I haven't seen this since I watched it on DVD at like my grandparents' house years and years and years and years ago. I can't remember anything about it. I remember liking it, but I could not tell you more than 2 things that happen. I think there's like blood that gets into some like beer and Stan Lee drinks it, and then that's like, ooh, and he's practicing his breathing at the beginning, I think. I don't really want to put it in meh, because I know I probably enjoyed it a bit more than these 3. I almost want to put it in have not seen, but I definitely have seen it. I'm gonna put it bottom of okay, just because I'm not too sure, but I know it was fine. Now we have the Iron Man trilogy. The first Iron Man movie, very solid. Another movie I rewatched fairly recently, still holds up, still a lot of fun. He built this in a cave with a box of scraps. Hell yeah. I love the first Iron Man. It's gonna go up here. A touch above Ant-Man maybe, a touch under it, a touch under Guardians though. I don't know, it's hanging around this midsection. Iron Man, I think, plays it more straightforward, just like, here's your introduction to the whole MCU. I am Iron Man. Very, very solid start. What it stands for, I guess, could bring it up to top of great, but just enjoyment factor, it's gonna sit under the first Guardians. A lot of fun shots in here as well. You got Tony Stark, you know, standing with his arms out and like the missiles fly around him or like the explosions go off or whatever it was. So many cool moments in this movie. While I would say every other movie in the great tier is a lot more fun to watch and maybe a touch more enjoyable to watch, to where I should put it in top of good, just what it stands for and the introduction and being the first MCU movie, I think it kind of deserves to be great, and it is a great movie. So I'm kind of just arguing with myself for no reason, really. Now we're moving on to Iron Man 2. I haven't watched this in a while. My friends say it's not good. I remember liking it, but then again, I like Iron Man. This is the one with Whiplash, the electric whip thing, and he's at like the NASCAR race or whatever, and he like pulls out a suitcase that's actually his Iron Man suit, which is really freaking cool. Also, Don Cheadle's in here as War Machine. Hell yeah. I just don't really have much to say about Iron Man 2. I can see why people don't like it. I don't look back on it too fondly. I just remember I enjoyed it. Probably gonna go top of okay, just because I can't really remember much. It's been a while. And Whiplash, he's kind of cool, but not a very strong villain. So while I wouldn't say the negatives outweigh the positives, there are enough negatives to where I would just put it lower on this tier list. Now moving on to Iron Man 3. This is kind of in the same boat as Iron Man 2, where I have not seen this thing in a hot minute. I remember having a bit more fun with it. I think this is the one with like the airplane scene where he's like saving everybody out of the airplane. I believe the main bad guy is like turning these people into like orange, like mutant people or whatever. He has a bunch of suits in this movie. There are a bunch of Iron Man suits that fly out of nowhere. It's kind of cool. I don't really have too many strong opinions about it, though. I know he's really dealing with, like, his panic attacks or whatever they are, where he's, like, stressing out about all the events in, you know, his life, pretty much. But, again, not a very strong Iron Man movie. The first one is fantastic, so it's hard to reach that bar. You know, I'm gonna put it top of okay, above Iron Man 2. I can't remember anything about it. And now we're moving on to Spider-Man. We have Tom Holland Spider-Man. This is Homecoming, the first one. Iron Man's in it quite a bit. Some people are like, this is just Iron Man 4, but hey, there's Spider-Man, which is kind of funny. But very good. Very, very good Spider-Man movie. Great introduction to this new trilogy with Tom Holland. Homecoming, while I have stronger opinions on Far From Home and No Way Home, it's still very good. I'm gonna put it and good, above Age of Ultron, above Black Widow. I'll leave it under Black Panther though. But here we go, now we got Far From Home. This is a top 5 Marvel movie for me. It is fantastic. Far From Home, Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio, the whole fake out. Like I said, I don't know much about comic books and the lore, so when I saw Mysterio, I was like, oh, I thought he was going to be the bad guy, but he's really chill, awesome. And then, surprise, he is the bad guy. And I really like Jake Gyllenhaal. I think he's pretty much incredible in everything I've seen him in. Very solid actor. And also, this is the one where Zendaya gets to really shine as MJ. So just everything about the Spider-Man movie makes it a great Spider-Man movie. The Elementals, or whatever they're called, are fun little fake-out villains because they are somewhat threatening. And the reveal that they're just drones, hell yeah. The ending that bleeds into No Way Home. Mysterio, you know, pulling out his phone and be like, oh, Spider-Man's identity, he's Peter Parker. It's like, oh shoot, it's just so much fun. I love Far From Home so much. One of my favorite moments in the MCU, just overall, is when Mysterio is playing mind games with Spider-Man, and you got the dead Tony Stark Iron Man coming out of the ground, and all the, like, mind games with the drones, all those scenes are so damn cool. I think it's the best Spider-Man movie. Now we have No Way Home. Now, at first, I was like, I love this. This might be the best Spider-Man movie. But when I take a step back, I realize it's mainly, you know, seeing all the Spider-Man villains and other versions all in one place. That alone is really fun. I just think of outside all of, like, I guess the cameos, if you can call them that, it would just be a very solid Spider-Man movie. But, you know, you got Toby and Andrew in there. You can't hate No Way Home. Just seeing them all in one spot, like, you can't help but be like, that's pretty cool right there. Watching this in theaters is, like, a memory I'll never forget. Just like Captain America and Infinity War, when Andrew and Toby step through their little Doctor Strange portals, everybody in the theaters is like, yes, we knew this was going to happen. It works so well. Now here is a rough one. We have Thor. I have not fallen asleep during any Marvel movie. The first Thor, I think I did. If it wasn't the first Thor, it was the second one. The first Thor is going to go in What Was That? The second Thor, I don't know what they do in Thor 2. I don't even know what they do in Thor 1. The only thing, by the way, it's going in What Was That? The only thing I can remember from any of the first two Thor movies is when he first gets to Earth and he's like, coffee, I'll have another, and he slams it down, and that's the only thing I remember. They're just so bland. I probably should rewatch them, because they're probably not that bad, but I don't have any fond memories, or really any memories, of these movies. I don't even think they exist, because Thor Ragnarok is peak Thor. Absolute fantastic. Him fighting Hulk in the Coliseum, Jeff Goldblum's in there, Mark Ruffalo as Hulk, love Mark Ruffalo. He's in there a good chunk. Valkyrie, she's really cool. Loki's in there a bunch. Just also Korg. This is just so much fun. This is a very, very fun Marvel movie. I said The Marvels is probably poster child for very fun Marvel movie. Ragnarok is probably going to take that title. It is going in great. Probably above No Way Home. Probably above Volume 2. Probably above Civil War. Probably above the first Iron Man. It is climbing the ranks in the great tier, and every time I watch it, just a smile across my face, and that's what I want out of my movie experience. I want a giant smile on my face, and by the end, I want to say, that was a good time, I'm glad I watched that. And Thor Ragnarok never disappoints. It kicks so much ass while also being one of the funniest Marvel movies. You can't not love Thor Ragnarok. It's a shame that the last movie on our list here is Love and Thunder. Natalie Portman's back. Yay, love her. That's really like the only big positive, is just that she's there, and that's nice. Don't really care for Thor Love and Thunder. I thought it was, again, a bit overhated. I can really, like, I said for Multiverse of Madness and Quantumania, yeah, I get why people didn't like this. This, I can really see why people didn't like this. But I'm going to put Thor Love and Thunder above Wakanda Forever. Thor Love and Thunder, it has a decent story, a really cool villain that they don't take advantage of. Also, the trailers, I wouldn't consider it false advertising, but the Guardians of the Galaxy, they were shown in there quite a bit. I was like, whoa, yeah, Thor and the Guardians, big crossover movie for Thor 4. But no, the Guardians are in there for like 10 minutes, and then they leave. Damn it. Got my hopes up. It is still an okay Marvel movie. Don't really have too many positive things about it. They do the damn goat meme, the screaming goat that hasn't been funny since 2012 or whenever. I'm not kidding you. They, pull a page right out of the Despicable Me handbook, where Sweet Child of Mine plays, and the screaming goats crash through this giant dome or whatever. I did it! But yeah, there you go. There's my Marvel tier list. I honestly thought more would end up in peak cinema. You know what? Endgame deserves peak cinema. Guardians 3, it is between great and peak cinema. It is right in this middle section. Yeah, I could probably move Ant-Man down a touch, just by a little bit. That's my tier list. You probably disagree. Wakanda Forever probably should move up a bit, but I just didn't really fuck with it that much. Quantumania probably shouldn't be as high, even though it was still fine. The Marvels, some of you might think it should be in the meh. Eternals, genuinely surprising. I would even consider it great, but it is not on the level as some of these other movies, so can't do that. Thank you for watching. This was thrown together last minute, no power most of this week. Had a lot of things going on due to the hurricane, so thank you for watching if you did, because this was not my original plan. But I will see you in the next video, whatever that may be, hopefully an actual movie review or something. Goodbye.